Good evening. Can you please introduce yourself for us?
My name is Bronson Zoltan Albino Kovács. I'm a Hungarian Canadian living here now.
And we were with you in your match. We heard that you play hockey so good. So can you please tell us how this match worked? And we took a lot of good frames. Can you tell us more about who win, who lose? How was it?
Our last game we played against a team out of Budapest called Vasas. They weren't the strongest team. They were below lower in the standings, but we ended up winning 5-0, which was good for us. That put us up into third place. It was close. We were getting close to Christmas, so we had these special jerseys that were Christmas themed for a kids tournament that's going on in town. So after the game, they auctioned them off to the highest bidder, and I think they gave all the money to some sort of kids charity. So it's always nice to help out during the Christmas season for sure.
That's really nice. Congrats. And I would like to ask you some personal question. Why did you choose hockey to start play?
I think it was more hockey chose me. Where I come from in a small town in Canada called Sault Ste. Marie, you get your first pair of skates when you can walk, when you're 1-2 years old. So ever since I could walk, I was on my backyard rink, my uncle's backyard rink, walking around with a chair. My dad played hockey at a pretty high level. My grandfather was a builder with the hockey program in Sault Ste. Marie. So it was just kind of fitting that I ended up taking a liking to it at a very young age. And from I think from 4 or 5 years old, I was in organized hockey, and it's taken me all over the world. It's given me an education through scholarships, and it's introduced me to so many interesting people and developed so many long-lasting or life-lasting relationships. So I'm very thankful for it.
And we know that you play in Hungary now. So why did you choose to play in Hungary instead of Canada? Because you said that you raised there and you learned how to play there.
It was a similar story to how I started. They somewhat found me with having my last name Kovács, or we say Kovács, they say Kovács here. I have the Hungarian lineage. So when I was playing for a U20 team down in Southern Ontario, I was approached by a hockey scout asking me a little bit about my Hungarian background, if I knew anything about Hungary. And he said he was good friends with a high-up person. I think he was the Secretary General at the time here. And he said, "Oh, we'll get you in contact, and there's an opportunity for you to come play professional here. We can help you with your passport and all the perks that come with it." So I didn't really think too much of it. I knew I was going to college the next year. Anyways, fast forward a couple weeks later, I had a big message in my inbox on Facebook, and I ended up reading it. I sent it to my parents. My dad, who knows some hockey people, he kind of forwarded it to them to see if this was the real deal, and it turned out to be a pretty good opportunity for me. So I ended up still going to college for the 4 years because I was committed there, and I sat down and talked with my parents and figured you want to get your education done first and then go have some fun in Europe. So I graduated in May of 2015, and July of 2015 I was on a plane with my father coming to Budapest to start a new chapter in my life.
And with your opinion, what is the difference between playing in your home or here? Like, what's the difference between Hungary and Canada?
Well, obviously, you think of Canadian hockey, you think of Hungarian hockey. They're kind of two on different ends of the spectrum. Hungarian hockey has come a long way. They've really developed a very good program over the last 10, 15 years. And in getting me my passport, they did this for 7, 8, maybe 9 players over the last 5 or 6 years to help kind of boost the Hungarian talent here. So it was the difference. Really, hockey's hockey everywhere around the world. Maybe the caliber is a little bit lower here, but they are kind of building from a young age up, and they're really developing their program a lot better. So I mean, if you get into physical differences, the size of the rink here compared to North America is a lot bigger. I think a couple feet longer, a couple feet wider. So that's really the only, I guess, real difference. Or North America with the smaller ice surface, it's a lot more hitting and fighting and violence, I guess. Whereas when you come here, it's a lot more skill and skating and puck possession. So there is that kind of learning curve coming from that smaller North American ice where as a bigger player, you're used to hitting more people, taking more penalties. And when you come here, you kind of have to tweak your game a little bit just to be able to keep up and to be able to, I guess, be a productive player on your team.
And did you find difficulties to adapt here when you first came to play?
A little bit, yeah. My first 2 years, I think I was in the top 2 or 3 in penalty minutes every year. So that was the biggest learning curve. The nice thing was a lot of the hockey here, it's a universal language, and with most of my coaches speaking English, the language barrier wasn't so bad, especially in the rink. So that part was a little bit easier. As far as there was a little bit of cultural differences, the food, I find it's a little bit of a slower paced life here. Everybody's more relaxed. Everybody takes their time, and that was something you kind of had to get used to coming from a hectic, busy schedule, deadlines, timelines, everything. Especially coming from college too, with the hectic schedule. So this was actually really nice. It was a really nice change I've enjoyed every part of it.
How long have you been playing here?
I'm playing in my 5th season right now. So I've had my first year I played in Debrecen, and then I had 2 years with Mods Budapest, and then last year I was back in Debrecen, and then this is my first year in Dunaújváros.
How do you feel about it?
It's a small town. I kind of grew up with a small town. I've always loved that small town environment and kind of developing those relationships and actually getting to know people instead of being just kind of a face in a crowd. So that part's always been nice. We found the good restaurants here and the good bars, and you get to know a lot more people in town, which is nice. And I've got a couple good buddies that I've played with in years past that ended up signing here, giving me a call and said, "Hey, we'd love to kind of get together again," and that's kind of how I ended up here.
And do you see yourself in the future coming back to Canada and start your career there in hockey?
Going back to Canada eventually, I think so. I mean, anything can change. Right now, my plan is to play maybe a couple more years, and then once I go back, maybe look into a career in policing. So I kind of started that a little bit with getting to know a few of the police officers back home, and this summer I'll do some of the testing, and then once the summer comes around, I'll do some of the physical tests and some of the psychological tests and all this kind of stuff. And I hope to get one more year here and just kind of have some fun with it. But as you can probably tell from watching the games, hockey doesn't last forever. Your body kind of tends to break down at a relatively young age. Once 28, 29, 30 comes around, you kind of feel those aches and pains in the mornings. So I'd like to transition for sure before, I guess, a major injury, or I'd rather walk away from the game than have to limp away from it.
This chapter will be good for you. And for the last question, what are your expectations in your career from the new year? New year is coming. How you feel about it?
New Year's always a nice time. In a way, you can kind of start fresh. I kind of equate New Year's with my family. They always come at Christmas time, so they get here in a couple weeks, and I'll get to spend some time with them. So that's kind of what I'm focused on now. Obviously, with the new year coming around, we've got the end of the season kind of coming up. We've got playoffs coming up, so that's kind of where a little bit more stressful, a little bit more high intensity. So obviously you look forward to that, but with the new year, it kind of comes the end of the season where you win or you go home. So I'm looking forward to it. We have a really strong team right now. We're near the top of the standings, so if we can get some good luck, we've got a couple pretty good players. We've got a heck of a goalie in net, so anything can happen. And if we can bring a championship to Dunaújváros, I'm sure there'd be a couple fun nights ahead.
And when is the next match? The match that you'll play?
Our next match, home match, would be, I want to say next Friday. Because tomorrow we take off for Romania. We play Thursday, Friday, and then I believe in the following week, December 12th, if that rings a bell. I believe we play then.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time again. Hope we can meet more and talk more about it. Thank you for sharing your information and good luck.